E começa aí, bom lugar.
Já tá rolando. Já. Ok, tira daí. Já é a transmissão? Essa é a transmissão já?
You guys want to take your seats?
Hello.
You can sit here. I'm going to start. Yeah, you can sit there, but you can turn around. You can stay here if you want. And I'll call you if you don't do the introduction for a little bit. You can stay on booths or whatever. All right. Can you all hear me well? You see? Yeah, good enough. Yeah. Well, thank you all for coming. Yeah, sorry for being late, very late. Yeah, it happens. But you all understand that this is part of a big test for myself and for a lot of the stuff that is gonna upcome on the next few days, months, years. So I would like to start by introducing myself and talking a little bit of my background. Why is this happening, and what is the perspective that I have with this. So this is me. I'm Marcelo. I'm from São Paulo, Brazil. I'm 29, and this is how I was used to be a little bit ago. But I'm not gonna start. So I'm from São Paulo. It's for jobs, and I was really passionate about technology. So I was a big fan of the technology companies. So I applied for a few internships when I was about 14, and then I got selected to a few group dynamics to sort it out, and one of them was from the biggest technology company ever. This is a shitty picture from 2004. So it was June 2004 when I went the first time, it was, you could see here, it was a barcode that it was used to go through the main gate for IBM. Unfortunately, by this time I didn't get selected, but then I kept going, applied to a few other job positions, and then I got hired. My very first, because I was leaving school at 1, so I had to be at work at 2, and then work until 8 o'clock, and this is about 7, so it was just basically just myself at the office. And when I was working there, then I found out that I really wanted to improve my English, something really good to do. So I just went around to see how we to go in a foreign exchange program, and then I just saw everything that he had to be done. Then I just got home with all those papers, showing my family. They were like, "What the hell are you talking about?" That was like 2005. Not a lot of people was used to that. My father was like, "You're just totally crazy. Just go to bed. You don't know what you're talking about." But my mom bought the idea, and then I was working. Then I was able to come up with some money, so they put it together. And then I went, and then I had to take these very nice senior pictures there. See, there's the selfie that I'm ashamed of, but it's good to share.
No mustache again.
Yeah. But then I went to US for 6 months as a foreign exchange student. Was one of the best things that I've done in my life, even that my father didn't really like it. And I had my birthday there. See, it's almost a mustache. Almost there. So it was a great time that I had there. I was very American-ish, going to prom nights. You know what happens at prom, Rob? Come on, man. You should know. You should know. And then I came back after 6 months. Then I got hired for the same company that I was an intern. Then I went to another company. This is me happy. This was at Novell. At that time, it was a well-known network management company. And I had a very good time there. A lot of nights working with those software engineers. It was such a great time there. And then I was sometimes at college at the same time going for electrical engineering. Then I changed it for electrical technology. And finally, I went to another course, IT management. And this course was done together with IBM, the company that sits. And then I wanted me to. Okay, it has been my dream for my whole life, so I think I'll take it. So then I stayed there for about 5 years as a sales representative. It was one of the biggest lessons that I could take from my life, just thinking about how it was to be in a company that was 100 years old with 400,000 people, and then you can imagine how many years it takes to just make all that stuff flow. But it was a quite fun environment sometimes. Not as good as BTI, but because here we have Rob, for example, so it's good. But after a while, I was really starting to think like Thomas G. Watson was used to say a lot. And when I first went to IBM, I was a huge fan. I was like, no, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. This is so special. But one of the things that happened to me was a creativity course that I took with this guy, Murilo Gan. He's a comedian, entrepreneur, and a lot of stuff. So he went to Singularity University in 2014, and when he came back, he decided to make this school for adults, starting by the creativity course. And then we were all happy faces at the office, but after a while, we were all like, "Oh, this is not the life that I wanna have. I want to do something different. I want to connect myself to something more meaningful." And then I guess IBM and me, we started to have some disagreements on kind of mindset. So I was laid off. And I would say it was one of the best things that happened to me. And the first time I was kind of sad, but then I was like, okay, now is the chance that I have to go through what I want to do, what are really my passions. So I was okay. I have already thought about going to Tibet and just going there and just farm some saffron, but I don't have to go to this far. Just wanted to go somewhere that I could grow my food and stay there and live there and have a good life with all the food that I could grow there. And my parents were pretty much like, okay, so you just want to become a hippie and you don't want to do anything else of your life. I was like, no, but there are some good ways to see that. It's not as bad as it looks. And then I started looking at on the internet about what are the options, how can I connect to these people, what can I do? And then I found out about WOOF, Worldwide Organization for Organic Farming, which is a platform that connects organic producers to people that want to volunteer and pretty much just exchange help. You work there, you have accommodation and food, and you stay there as long as you agree with the person, and it's such a good experience. And then it was, well, maybe I don't want just to do that. I want to still develop all the skills that I've been working on for the past few years. And then I went to talk to a few friends, and then one of the persons that I went to talk was this guy, and his contact was saved in my phone as Hugo Oracle because he was used to work for Oracle, and he actually quit to start his company, so we were kind of a same mood, and I got to know him on the creativity course, so we were both with our minds pretty much really changing. And this very specific meeting happened at the Google campus in São Paulo, this place here, which is a very nice co-working space. We have a lot of great minds in there, and our meeting was actually in this table right here, where we started to come up with ideas, see what kind of stuff I was good at or I could work with, and we found out that I pretty much wanted to connect myself with people. Just having people around, getting people together, connecting people, and making some meaningful relationships. Because I was looking at Google Campus and seeing, well, there's a lot of good people here, but people don't really know each other. So I was like, whoa, what should I do? So I wanted to be the janitor or the doorman of the place, of the co-working space. Just like Fernando, which is the guy that sits down here. He's the one that knows everyone in this building. So I was like, we need a person like this in a co-working space so he can know everyone and he can make the connections with the people in there. And I really like to travel, and I was thought like, well, maybe it's the time that I had a little bit of money that I got from IBM, and now I have time, a lot of time. It was the stuff that I most had at this time. I was like, maybe I should get to know Europe because I have never been there, so it's a great opportunity. So then I went back to WOOF and started seeing like, well, maybe I can go to one of these farms, and as soon as I don't spend any money there or anything, it would be a great idea. So I was like, maybe I can travel around with the money that I have for 3-4 months in Europe, and if I just do some crazy calculations, maybe I can stay for a year and everything is gonna be fine. But no, it's not exactly how it works, but I thought it would be like, well, I'll just go and see what happens. So I started to plan everything, started sending some messages to some farms, and I got a lot of denies, just people say, oh no, you don't have availability at this time, and etc. Until the time that I got this message from this farm in Trieste in Italy, that they say that they couldn't wait for me. So it was all set, so it was time to get the things going seriously. So I booked my flight and started actually to see how everything was going. It was kind of a day like this in São Paulo exactly 1 year ago. It was November 30th, 2016, when I woke up in a day like this, and I went to the airport because I knew that I was going to one of the biggest experiences of my life. So this is how it started. this is how I got first in Milan, which was the place that I found out it would be a very good place to start. There is some specifics about I had to go inside the Schengen area, 90 days inside, 90 days outside, so it would be winter by this time. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to Italy, France, Switzerland, and then I'll just leave Portugal and Spain for the summer. That would be the third semester of my trip. So then it was Italy, beautiful places, Germany, a lot of beer in Germany, Switzerland, a lot of chocolates in Switzerland, France, which is a beautiful place. We have some French people here as well. India, which was one of the best experiences of my life, and I truly tell everyone you must go there. If it's not on top of your list, you should put it on, even if you're going by yourself, which is even better. Then I had a stop in Dubai, which was quite a shock for me, especially coming from India. Then I went to England, Ireland, Northern Ireland, which is, there's still a wall there that divides Catholics and Protestants, so which is the kind of stuff that you just see when you go there in Belfast. Then I went to Belgium, Netherlands, you can see my Netherlands face there. Then I went to Spain. This was in Madrid when the Real Madrid won the Champions League. It was such a nice time. Malaga, a lot of very nice places in Spain, Valencia, and then finally Portugal, which is the place that I actually happened to choose after all to be for a while, because I really enjoy it and I thought it would be a great idea to spend some more time in here. And then I had us also stop in Morocco and in Gibraltar. So when I came back here after a while, because I've met this guy in the first time that I went by Lisbon. I had the pleasure to go by his wife, because I studied with her in Brazil 15 years ago, since we were 40 years old, and I happened to be in the LX factory right when she was going by with her family. And then she was like, Marcelo, what are you doing here? It's like, oh, I'm traveling around. Yeah, someone told you that. So we started to talk, and she's into social entrepreneurship with super babysitters, and also part of Make Sense. And she was like, oh, my husband works for Betaí. It's like, okay, I know Betaí. I have already this in my plan to go there and visit and talk to these guys. And then I started to talk to Rodrigo, and when I was, after a while, then I had to change my plans to come back here, because I thought it would make sense to be with him for a little longer. And when I was in Albufeira planning my last semester, I ran by this lawyer from Rio de Janeiro, and I was talking to him. I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do, because right now I'm supposed to go for outside of the Schengen area again. So I guess I'm going to Croatia to try to make some money and find whatever, or go to Romania. And he was like, why don't you just extend your tourism visa in here? It's like, how is this possible? It's like, yeah, there's this way that you can do this. It's like, okay, so it seems like the perfect timing to do this. Lisbon is quite cheaper than everywhere else, so maybe I'll just go there for these last 3 months and connect with the local entrepreneurship scene, get to know more about these farms out around this area. And so I did. So I came here, started to go to some events around here, and having in mind that I really wanted to do something related to what I was doing back home, related to people, getting to know more about the co-working spaces that I was researching in all those countries that I've been to, and also related to organic farming. So I had a rough idea on what exactly I wanted to do. And so I came here, I went to an event, and then it happened to be a Meet a Mentor session on Canopy. And then I just went there, not really knowing what was going to happen. And then I went by this woman, Angelique, and then we just started to talk, and she's a startup consultant, and it pretty much came with a lot of insights about my project and everything that it could be. So I was really surprised by the potential that he had and everything that I could do while I was in Lisbon. So she really opened my eyes for that. And she's right now in a cruise on her way to Brazil because she really loves Brazil as well. And then from that started what I for now call EcoHub. And that got inside the idea of making a sustainable community, making a mix of co-living hostel with organic farming and a co-working space, startup acceleration. And so we really started to, I was like, okay, maybe I can get serious about it in here and really start to develop it, while especially getting some help from Betaí. And then I came back, wasn't here, started talking to Rodrigo, and then he said like, well, why don't you just come to Betaí to work with us, and you can share your time by working for us and have the time to work in our project. So I was really impressed by Rodrigo and this guy that is going by here, right, Thiago? Thank you. And so it all started to make sense, and it was a great time to be here. And last we all every week we have the TGIF here. We have beer, have networking here. And last Tuesday I was laying in bed and I was, well, maybe I want to do something different from this. Why I don't start to make a trial of the community that I want to build when I get back to Brazil and start to put people together with similar interests and try to talk to other people about the stuff that we believe. And then I got people that actually believe on some of the stuff that I do believe too, to talk to us. So, and then this is something very special for me. This is a trial, sorry for the inconveniences, but I think it's going to be a great session, and we're going to make the best to streamline this vision that we have on how to create a sustainable future, which is the vision that we share in some different ways. So I'd like to call our speakers here. Felipe from Biovila, if you want to come here and join us. Kevin from Chainsmiths, Daniela from Culture, and Elena from Omaha. Oh. Okay, so I think I have already said enough, and maybe you guys can start about just quickly introducing yourselves, talking a little bit about your background and your current project, so we all get a little bit of everyone set on the same page. Thank you.
Okay. Hi everyone.
Very
Yeah,
close.
it's on. Is it hygiene? That's not how you start a panel. Okay. My name is Elena. I come from Macedonia and I live in Ceira now, in Portugal. It's my chosen home. It's the place I choose to settle in. My background is in software engineering. My whole professional career has been in that. And in the last few months, I decided that I want to have more human contact, actually, that I'm kind of tired of computers. And that I wanted to teach other people to program. And I think I'm here this night, tonight, because I want to teach, I'm starting a programming school where we're focusing mostly on preparing developers for remote work, working remotely. And we will have the whole night to talk about why working remotely is sustainable, and both in resources and in human way. But for now, I think that's enough. Let's just pass on the mic to everyone, and then we continue. We get back to sustainability of remote work.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm Daniela. I work in the fifth floor at Couture, Decode and Disrupt. It's basically a human-centered innovation agency. My background, I'm an architect, and I joined this crew a bit by accident, but became a kind of a strategist. I don't know exactly what I will bring up unless it's more this human view that goes from technology and the human view that sometimes it's quite hard for businesses to take hold and even for us to take as well, which I think, and I also discovered coming from my context in architecture and now from this context, it's quite easy to get a bit lost within similars, and we're all discussing about new things and connecting, and we are always with each other by similarity. And this was a discovery at Couture because we are actually with the real people that we wouldn't be close in a normal day. And I think that's surprising, and that gives a lot of information because all of us are knowledge spots, and that's what I think we can talk about.
Thank you.
So hi everybody, my name is Philip. I am from Lisbon, although I live at the moment in Barcelona, part of my PhD. I'm doing a PhD on policies for sustainable development, working with local, complementary currencies and how can they be a trigger for sustainable development. I'm a researcher and a social entrepreneur, being a part of for 15 years in associations, cooperatives, and so on, namely BioVilla, which I think that's where the invitation came from. BioVilla is a nature tourism, education towards sustainability, yoga retreat center, all the stuff that you can imagine. Somewhere 45 minutes out of Lisbon, in the National Park of Serra Holiday, which we created like 8 years ago, I guess. Yeah, and I breathe and I try to live and to study sustainability, so I hope I can bring some value today for you guys.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kevin. I'm working on a technology that's really, really bad for the world. That's called Bitcoin. My company is called Chainsmiths, and we are changing the world as a service for bigger organizations.
Great. So I would like to start by asking, it could be Felipe, you have a background on economics, and we know like how much economy is really based on how you get the relationship between people, businesses, and from that you evolved to the idea of BioVilla and permaculture. So, and assuming that permaculture is when you have stuff that is connected into a cycle, how do you think that the BioVilla is the thing that can actually bring a community together and get people to actually get into a community and make it in a way that, how can I say, the formation of the community? How do you believe this is actually beneficial, and how it relates to the economics in a general way?
So many questions. Actually,
Yeah.
do you guys, girls, do you know here what permaculture is? Can you just raise a hand if you know what permaculture is? So I guess...
You can clarify, yeah.
Yeah, well, permaculture is a system of design, basically, which is inspired in the patterns in nature, from nature, and we try somehow to replicate them, designing human systems from agriculture to social systems, economy, so on and so forth. Long story short, Google it, whatever. Permaculture. And permaculture for us is, BioVilla was inspired to be like, we try to look at the patterns from nature, which actually create resilient systems, and then we try to apply them in BioVilla. BioVilla is not a community, so it's not an eco-village, it's not an intentional community. There's several all over Europe, in Portugal, so you also can go to the eco-village or Portugal. Like in Portugal, some of the biggest ones are like Camera, which is a very big free love kind of community in Alentejo. prototyping, experimenting, innovating, having sustainability as a kind of a way, but also as life, whatever that means, and just that they can go there, challenge us, and be there and experience. So we have yoga retreats, silent retreats, we have natural building, we can have programming retreats, why not? We never have, but it's a possibility. But really the idea is just to be a convergence point for this kind of stuff. And I wish that there would be like more places in Portugal and in other places where you can have this point where different people from different backgrounds can all meet in the same place to really share ideas. So from the beginning, we never wanted to be the hippies, which are like an island where most of people would not come, but also we don't want to be like business as usual, green because it's sustainable marketing, etc. We wanted to bring all these people together. So sometimes we have really high fashion people coming from big corporations, and the next day we have the hippies smoking some marijuana, I can tell it in life. And then the next day we have some schools planting projects. And the next day we have hippie guys building sustainable dome, whatever. That was what BioVilla was made for. It's just to bring all these people together who want to have a different way of engaging with economic life. And now the other question is a very long question, so I'm going to pass it to the other guys.
And what can you share to us, like from these people that go there? Then you said that there are several different kinds of people. What kind of knowledge do you also get from the people that goes to BioVilla?
Well, basically what we're trying to do is we try to invite people to come to BioVilla with whom we want to learn something. So for example, starting tomorrow, we have a sociocracy workshop with some of the two best guys in the world. Okay, sociocracy, who knows what sociocracy is? Sociocracy, more or less, it's a governance model, it's whatever. So for example, we want to learn more about and we want to implement sociocracy, but we don't have the skills and expertise. What we do, we reach out for the best guys in the world and say, come and teach a course at BioVilla. And we want to learn about sociocracy, and I'm sure more people in Portugal want to know about sociocracy, so come into our place and give it. So it's kind of a way in which we can open up some space for the community, for the Portuguese community to come and kind of learn more. And some people pay with, we have our own currency, so BioVilla has its own money. So people can come to BioVilla, work, get some money, which we call the bees, and then they can pay with bees for this kind of courses, so the people that have no money can also work for it or whatever. So we try to be as inclusive as possible in a way that we can really share knowledge as much as possible.
Great. And I want to extend this to Elena as well. In the project that you have, that is a 12-week program to learn programming. So you get all kinds of diverse people there. So can you talk a little bit more of what did you want to make it like a closed course for 12 weeks, like a very immersion? What kind of insights you get from building this community for that saying for those 12 weeks?
What kind of insights will I get?
Yeah.
Because we are starting in February, so we didn't start yet. I mean, the idea of Hub has only existed for 2.5 months, I think, almost 3 actually, in a few days. We've been working a lot, but what we expect is the community of learning and mutual support. And I know that those are already cliche words, peer support, community learning. I mean, at least in those circles, it starts into cliche. But it's so important to have a community of support. Nowadays, are there any developers here? Hi. I mean, many developers work remotely, work from home, work in isolated places, whatever. And many developers are starting to have mental problems. They feel isolated. They feel like they need more human contacts. And we are default by, I mean, we are a little bit weird by nature. We're not that good in communicating. I'm just kidding. I know that's discriminatory, but I'm just kidding. I can do it because I'm a girl. So what we expect that we have a community of mutual learning, that everybody learns from each other and everyone supports each other in the learning process. So, for example, what I see, how I envision the course unfolding is, for example, when someone gets behind in the material or when someone doesn't understand something, what I plan to stimulate, and of course this is going to be assessed in the beginning because I don't know how that's going to work. But what I intend on doing is getting the people who already grasped that matter, who already understood that matter, and make them explain to the people that didn't get it yet. So that would be, kind of everyone learns from each other. The person who didn't understand the matter will learn about the matter, but the person that is teaching the matter is going to learn how to teach something, which is also very important. So that's kind of how I envision stuff going on. But it's
Yeah, and I was going to actually ask a question about transparency and the knowledge as a power, and you're actually enabling people to contribute in both ways to the learning experience itself. Did you have any backgrounds on some learning methodologies that you apply during this 12-week program?
will I apply?
Yeah.
In the future. You know about Perestroika, Brazil,
Yeah.
The school, Jean-Philippe. So they have developed experience learning is something that's been existent for, I don't know, over 30 years, I think. Perestroika took it and created a framework from it. And I firmly believe that in order for us to really learn something, the best way that the more knowledge gets in our head is by experience. So we need to be able to really experience it. For example, if we apply that to programming, what I intend to do is that we get small rewards out of small tasks. So we pass a little bit of material in coding, and then we do some exercise where people kind of apply what they learn directly into a real life thing. And when they finish the task, they get those small rewards, and they get that feeling that they get that experience. So if they're solving problems that, if they're making an exercise that solves problems in their own lives, I'm pretty sure that they're going to remember better all about that knowledge. So yeah, that's about the framework methodology. It's the experience learning framework developed by Perestroika, and luckily for all of us, it's open source methodology.
Good, and this is very much like a decentralization concept of the information as well. And when we talk about decentralization, there is a guy that's probably thinking that like, oh, now he's gonna talk to me. And Kevin, how can you talk about talking about decentralization? How do you think that it correlates to your business and what blockchain is? And if you can just give a simple explanation about blockchain so we get everyone on the same page, and then after that we continue with the question.
Okay, so I don't know how I'm gonna link that to the previous speaker.
We'll help you.
I'll try. So, blockchain. Who knows about blockchain here? What is blockchain? What is Bitcoin? Moon. Great. So if you don't know about Bitcoin, you should really read about it. And if you don't, well, just read the newspaper tomorrow or today and you will learn about it. So blockchain is about having a single source of truth, meaning that every participant in a network know for sure that everybody else in this network has the same information as they do. This is like, sounds pretty basic, it's extremely hard to do technically, and that solves so many challenges that we've had for years that we can apply it, at least theoretically, we can apply it to anything. Now, practically, we're still at research stage, so there is a lot of work to be done for scalability and all that stuff. But anyway, what it means is that right now, if we have all access to the same source of truth, let's say how much money everybody has, we can make a currency system where we don't have to know who the other people are, and we can send money to them because we know how much money they have, and they know how much money we have, so they know we can pay them or not, and we can record this transaction on this ledger that we share among ourselves. So that's Bitcoin basically, but now you can apply that to identity, so having, let's say, your passport without having a government. you can apply that to voting systems, so you can vote without having to trust your municipality to actually count your vote. You can do basically whatever you want, sign contracts with your landlord, get your house registered without having the municipality getting the ledger of all the houses owned by people, because in some countries that's a problem, and stuff like that. So, what was the question again?
How this can relate to, is a decentralization and more a transparent way of doing it. What kind of application you can do with education, with knowledge inside blockchain?
Okay, so basically, yeah, blockchain is about transparency because everybody can see what everybody else is doing and have the same source of information. So it's all about transparency, and a lot of people think blockchain and Bitcoin and stuff are about privacy. This is not the case. It's the opposite. It's about transparency. You can see what everybody else is doing. So if you install Bitcoin on your computer, you download today, you download about 150 gigs of data, and that's every single transaction that everybody in the world has done on Bitcoin, ever. That's the first thing to do. If you download Bitcoin, you get 150 gigs of transaction history, and you can check who has done what for the whole history of Bitcoin. So when people talk about privacy, yeah, great. It's pretty much the opposite. So now in our industry, we go further than that. We hate governments. We hate people being on top of each other as like any kind of organizational stuff. Pretty much everybody is an anarchist or whatever. So what it means is that we have to agree on which way we want the technology to go. And that is very difficult when you don't have a governance process, when you don't have a voting system or anything. It's very difficult to get people to agree to the same direction. So far it's been very problematic, of course, we're still exploring the system, but the way it's going is that as long as we do something that is not breaking anything for anybody else, that's fine. So if we do an improvement for some people, even if it's not for everybody, but as long as we don't break anything for anybody else, that is fine. But if we do an improvement that is good for some, but bad for others, then it will never work. So that's the stage where Bitcoin is at now, and that's why there is a lot of struggle to make it scale and stuff. It applies very well to this community teaching things because there is no school teaching blockchain, or at least the one that exists are pretty bad. You have to learn by yourself. The only people who know about it a lot have been into it without thinking about it making themselves more money or whatever, Bitcoin going up. They didn't think about that. They joined the movement because they were all anarchists, or they couldn't work under anybody else's authority. Which is kind of related. But a lot of people in Bitcoin or blockchain just couldn't work for a bigger organization, and you can't tell them what to do when. They have to do their own things, and they just have fun. And the only way to learn from these people is just to contribute back to the community. So you have to code something yourself, you publish it to GitHub or whatever, they will review it, and if you are interested, maybe they'll talk to you and they will explain you things, etc. So that's how it works. I think that's a long answer, but
that was great. I'll hand you the beer. It's your prize for a very good answer. And I'll hand it to you guys as well. And now that we're talking about decentralization and make things more accessible and everything, I wanted to ask Felipe about you're doing your master, no, your doctorate on alternative money. So how can this benefit when we talk about decentralization and access? We really think about the difference that we have in the society, especially talking about wage and access to information and access to money. And we have a lot of problems with this in a lot of countries, that people don't have access to the money or to buy stuff, or even they have too much access to the money because the government just wanted to print as much money as they could. So what do you think is your perspective over this problem, and how can the alternative currencies aim to this decentralization problem? Getting complex. So just how do we solve some problems in Africa with new currencies?
So maybe from the beginning. So the idea of complementary currencies, either it can be a local currency, it can be a digital currency like Bitcoin, I think the main idea is first to bypass intermediaries, such as banks, government, etc., because they charge, they control the data, etc. So it's basically to bypass all the systems. At the same time, it is also to control the rules of the game. So I strongly believe that whatever agenda we have for a more sustainable development, if we don't change the political system and the monetary and banking system, we're not going to get anywhere. Because these two systems are basically what keeps the system in play and what basically controls the world. Let's put it like this. So these are basically movements that from the people who want to retake economic and political power. And one of the best ways to do it is to print your own money. So in Brazil we have our own money. There's like small communities all over the world have their own money, which means that they can intermediate their relationships according to their own rules. And the currency can be designed to fit what they want to have. So yeah, Bitcoin has a very specific design to fit a very complete design. Local currencies have another kind of design to fit other kind of purposes. But all of these is to take a bit more power from the current monetary system, where basically it's not, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not governments that create money, it's basically private banks that create money out of thin air. If you don't know it, now you know it. And basically who control and manipulate the system. So I think all of these movements are in somehow people trying to fight back the system and to get back political and economic control of their resources and their economic life. That's kind of how I see it. And for me that's key for a resilient and sustainable future, that you can actually empower yourself to take back political power and to take the actual economic power through money. That would be my, I don't know if it's clear for you guys.
Anarchy!
Yeah.
Sure.
Elena, sure. Yeah, and it's open to everyone that want to ask any questions. Just let us know. Raise your hands.
I find the concept of money amazing. I mean the concept, also money itself. But the concept of money is really fascinating to me. How does it work and all that? But my complete question now would be kind of, what is the division? You have your own currency in Georgia, and it's called a B. I don't know if it's B for Bitcoin, B for but I would like to know, I have read a little bit on this subject and I know some things, but I would like clarification from experts and also for our audience. When will the community need blockchain and cryptocurrency? So until when can you use kind of a printed currency? Who prints the currency? Who prints new money in a small community? And what is the turning point when communities should move to the blockchain? Move its currency to the blockchain.
I will ask, does anybody here actually use complementary currencies? Like, has anybody in the last months has done any payment or received any money? Yes? Which money? For example, okay, that's good. Like, this is kind of what we call loyalty points, which actually is a complementary currency. Like, let's say, British Airways miles, TAP miles. That's actually a complementary kind of currency. But any of you have used Bitcoin? Probably not. Yeah. Okay. If I don't ask you, you know that's like there's like more than 40 local currencies just in Portugal. Does anybody have any idea of that? Okay, good. So actually, nowadays within our system, there already exist a lot of complementary currencies. We have local currencies already in place. We have regional currencies. We have commercial currencies like the TPR, miles, stuff like that. We have Bitcoin. We have our national fiat currency with whom you pay taxes. So this is already in existence. What I say is that in the future, each and every one of us maybe is going to carry in their pockets 5 or 6 different currencies to use it very like exactly at different scales. So at your local scale, you might use a local currency. At international transfers, you might use a cryptocurrency, whatever. The question of appropriate scale and appropriate design, how that cryptocurrency makes sense like this. The key for any currency is you have to trust the system, or you have to trust the people. So for a local currency, you don't need a crypto blockchain thing, because people should trust themselves. and trust should be embedded in the system. But for monetary international transfers, cryptocurrency you need. So I think it's basically appropriate scale in terms of the design. Yeah.
What's your experience? I mean, I have read that, like, okay, cryptocurrency, you should probably know better, but just for a question. So I have read about some numbers, actually specific numbers of high trust or low trust communities. Or basically, if you have a low trust community, you don't need a blockchain. You don't need a single source of truth. If we have high trust communities, as a friend of mine says, even an Excel sheet is good enough.
Exactly.
So, in your experience, what is kind of the good number of people when after which do you have an experience at all?
If it's open to anybody and everybody without anybody having to accept them to join the system, you have to use a cryptocurrency. If you have anybody like having the role of like accepting new members, then whatever you use is fine. Actually, you should not use a crypto or a token or a colored coin or whatever you want to call them. It makes no sense. So if it's open to anybody and everybody without having to check their passport, cryptocurrency. If you have any point of entry, anything else, but not a crypto.
And the other one was everybody up to one new member?
So yeah, basically like the problem is when you have somebody having the power of allowing somebody or denying access to somebody. So the technology you use behind that doesn't matter because you have your single point of failure at the point of entry or the point of exit. So you have the problem twice. When, let's say, if Bitcoin had this problem, and you cannot have it today, so this is one of the problems Bitcoin has. If you want to buy Bitcoin today, let's say you go on an exchange online, you have to give your passport, you have to get approved. You have a problem there because basically your government knows that you're buying Bitcoin. So great, first thing you do, buy Bitcoin, let's say you get accepted. And that's if you are lucky enough to have a passport, to have a proof of address that's accepted, because not everybody has that. So now you can buy, let's say, great. Oh, also to buy, you have to do a bank transfer. So you need to have a bank. That's another problem. So now, great, you have your Bitcoin. Now you want to sell them to have some currency. Same problem, you need to go to an exchange. So you need to swap it, send it back to a bank account. Your bank account has the full authority to block the transfer. Even if they receive the money, they don't have to credit it to your bank account if they are not sure where it comes from. Yeah. That's anti-money laundering law. That is, yeah.
Because the money in the bank is not yours. It belongs to the bank. So
yep. And legally, they cannot take the risk of not knowing. Yeah, they cannot take the risk of not knowing where the money is from. And on top of that, the government can prevent you to have it or tax you on top of it or whatever. So this is a major problem. But Bitcoin, I mean, if you want some Bitcoin, give me cash, I will give you Bitcoin. Great, I'm not checking your passport. So that is what the cryptocurrency does. Now, if you do the same, and I'm not I'm responsible, like as long as people know I'm doing it, I'm responsible. But then the system runs by itself. There is nobody to shut it down if something goes wrong or whatever. Any other type of currency where you need to have some kind of control, or where you have any kind of control, you have the authority. That can be the people allowing you to join, and that can be the people controlling the currency. They have to comply to all the laws. And if they are responsible for anything dodgy, even if it's not on purpose, but let's say you were laundering money somehow and you didn't check, they are liable for $1 billion of fine. It's like in lifetime prison. I mean, money laundering is no kidding. So that's basically it. If anybody can do it, crypto, if you have anybody verifying it, it's useless.
I would just like to compliment on this. If anybody nowadays wants to create their own currency, like a world currency or regional currency or whatever, it's very easy to do, and it's mostly free. You go online, and there's like a lot of peer-to-peer payment systems and banking systems which are like free. You go to cycles.org, you download the last version, and you ask all the users to download it, and you have an online peer-to-peer payment system which is free. It's really reliable, easy to use. So why go to a cryptocurrency when you have an online peer-to-peer system of payment? You know what I mean? So I would agree completely, not based on blockchain technology. So I won't be secure anyway. Yeah, well, the securement comes from other sources, like you're saying, point of extraction. So, yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah. And I wanted to relate that to as you guys said about decentralization and take away the intermediaries, and we have a lot of services that already do that. We can think of like Uber and Airbnb. They just took off the middleman. And how does other industries can benefit that, especially with other models of currency and blockchain? Like, for example, when you grow your food and you want to sell it to someone, how does this market and all other markets can benefit from this kind of decentralization?
Well, decentralization, well, okay, so you have different ways to understand decentralization. So one of them is just not having a single point of failure. So let's say if, what is this? This internet. The internet is decentralized. So if a website goes down, the whole internet is not going down. That's pretty good. If a country goes down, the whole internet is not going down, only for the people in this country. So that's pretty good as well. But still, some people have control over the pipes and can block or like filter what kind of information get through. So you're not fully decentralized, but you still have the benefits of a distributed system that is pretty reliable. Even if a server goes down, you usually have like some redundancy, so you can still access your website. Google is like, you've never seen Google offline, probably. And their servers go down. It's normal. Like, I mean, they have hardware failures, software failures, but they just have redundancy. So that's decentralization. That's when something goes down, the whole system is not going down. So this is a good thing, but not always, because it also means if something goes wrong, actually wrong, sometimes you don't know where the wrong thing comes from. I can't access Google today. Oh, what's wrong? Is it Google? Is it my government blocking it? Is it my internet provider blocking me? Is it my flatmate doing some kind of IP filtering on my router? It can be a lot of things, and you cannot really know what's wrong. So depending on what you're trying to achieve, decentralization is not always good. Right now you have a bank. If something goes wrong with your money, you know who you're going to sue. You're going to sue your bank, and you're going to get a lot of money. If my Bitcoin disappears, well, I'm fucked. So depends on what you want to achieve, and that's basically what decentralization is about. It's not about decentralizing everything. It's about making sure when you don't want to trust somebody, then you have the choice of not trusting them. But most people need or want to trust somebody because they just don't want the hassle of thinking about it. So if your money is in the bank, you're like, I'm fine, I know if I get robbed tonight, my money is not gone out of my house. Me as a Bitcoiner, I have to put some very serious security systems in place, so if even my house takes fire or whatever, I don't lose all my money, because most of my money is in Bitcoin. So how do I do that? Well, it's very complicated, and any like normal person or, let's say, mainstream user would not have the time or the knowledge to do that. So yeah, it's really what do you want? Do you want freedom of like your brain power, not having to think about, oh my god, is my money secure right now? Or is my ID secure right now? Or just like, yeah, I trust my government. If I lose my passport, they will give me a new one. So when you grow a vegetable, usually you don't give a shit about decentralization.
But yeah, I was thinking about like, because today we have a lot of intermediates like mediating the transaction, so not a lot of people get access to it. So with some kind of those new technologies, we can pretty much take off the middleman and make a straightforward connection to these people. But I want to go back a little bit to when we're talking about anarchy and how this can change the pace of our government, because I truly believe that Bitcoin is responsible for the change that we want. Because if you think as blockchain as transparency and it's everything is traceable and it's everything that our governments are not. And when we talk about industries that can be leveraged by blockchain, we always see transparency, restability, and because we can see everything that is the government system, and it's more like constructing the thinking, not actually a question. I want to know what is your opinion, because everything that it could be the collapse, because especially because the government I don't think they're able to make the regulations of the world. Maybe getting benefits from blockchain and AI to support this evolution.
He likes to put everything in the same question: AI, blockchain, centralization, collapse. I'm going to pass the question to you guys. Do you guys believe that the Bitcoin has the potential to make governments collapse? Yes or no? If yes, yes. And if no, not really. So I actually trust the wisdom of the crowds. And I actually think that Bitcoin by itself alone will not bring the collapse of nations or the nation state and the idea of government. I don't think it's going to happen. Not at the moment, not in a few years. It might have the power to reconfigure finance and to reconfigure some of the banking and all the monetary system, but it's not going to bring governments down. Long story short.
I mean, like the whole blockchain, like the regulation system, and because somehow blockchain brings a level of trust. So you all trust all the information that is in there, and if it's all public, it makes almost like a self-regulated population. I know it's hard, but
I do not believe it will bring governance down, not by itself, and not in the next year. That's my personal opinion. But I'm gonna. You haven't spoken. I'm gonna speak. I'm gonna give it to Danielle. She hasn't spoken.
My beautiful viewers.
Yeah.
I was thinking when you asked the crowd, we usually use this example. I'm going totally out of topic, okay? But when you ask the question to the crowd, there's like this essay we use when you go on field and we talk to people, that you can never trust people in one way. We can trust, but not in what you say. Henry Ford was saying it a very long time ago, like, if I would have asked what people would want, they would have said a faster car. Or they wouldn't have said it. You would just have to be quite attentive. A faster horse, exactly. The thing is that we don't know at the point we are being asked something, what we should and what we actually want to reply. And this is what a bit about my feeling that we are in this stage. And regarding what we were discussing about, because I've been learning a lot, of course. This is always a good thing to learn and to hear it for the first time. And I come again with this notion that once we are. I was curious to hear. Sorry, I was thinking about what Elena was saying about schooling, and I remembered that like 50 years ago in Portugal, when there were no schools, people would learn from the elderly that would sit after one of another, and it's kind of cycle. It's a cycle that goes on, and somehow at this point it's quite intelligent and quite new when you bring new methodologies, but you just have to bring it a new approach, because once it was a need and now it's an approach, and that's the value of it. And I think here with the blockchain it's probably the same, because once you get total freedom and total response, it's also a bit strange for us humans to do that, because we want that, but we do the opposite. We always do the opposite. We want to keep things. Like, we want everything to be outside, we talk about it, we want it all fresh, all clear, all with no boundaries, but then we want our secrets. We want to tell just something to our friends. We want to keep something in our book. We want to close something up. And this brings just a very strange and a very curious combination of forces, that once the innovation goes up in one direction and the human nature goes up in the other direction, and at one point you have to check the balance of it. Of course, we always and we will always need to be thinking outside the box, but at the same point there's probably one line that we don't know where it stands, but there's one line that we all agree theoretically, but we will not accept it in practice. And this boundary is quite curious to know and to push the boundaries of us, our boundaries, through technology, which I think is what we are discussing, whether it's currency or something else that we don't know that we will probably be discussing. But it's quite funny, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to bring another thing that I remember. And I find it really curious to be among discussing discussing the future and discussing humanity. And I think Kevin was very smart on saying, like, I want to destroy the world, or I'm not concerned.
This was a private discussion.
No, you just introduce yourself like that. Like, oh, they are also human, like the human view, and I'm not. It's amazing. It's great to have both views. And this always reminds me of my grandmother, which passes through a lot of differences more than us, and I hope we can become as she is at this point in life. We are open-minded, we travel, we want this and we want that, and I hope we will be that person in 30 or 40 or 50 years. Because whenever I'm talking to her, she doesn't understand most of the things that I do. And I don't even talk about blockchain. And she's like, she's so curious, and she's like, I don't understand half of what you're saying, but please continue. And I think this is amazing, to keep an open mind and to try to keep track on what is happening, because we will not be able to be tracking everything, and we just have to be open and curious enough to make it at least in one point of our mind possible. And I think that's
Beautiful.
I just want to recommend the book to everybody. I just read. I told these guys. It's a really good book. It's called. No, I can't share that. It's called Homo Deus. I don't know if anybody knows. It's from an Israeli historian. It's like a really, really good book. The guy is called Torah Yuval, and it's a really, really good book. And it's like basically, if you take automation, change of our own DNA, if you take artificial intelligence, etc., and if you push that into the future, and he questions what will humanity look like, what is to be human, what's going to be human in the future, what is sustainable, what's sustainable, etc. These kind of questions. It's a really, really good book to rock your ideas about present and the future. I would say.
You give us some insights about the book.
it's the Blade Runner of your time.
It's kind of the Blade Runner book, but he's an historian. It's a very, very good book. I think it's better that you guys read it, and then we can
spoilers.
Because you can experience, as Elena said, and then you actually know. Because unless you read it, you don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's really funny that you got into this topic, because there is this two parts of the humanization of this humanization of everything, and pretty much what AI brings now is the conscious of how much more we need to become more human, and we need to train all these abilities that are very pretty much just from the people. So, and I truly believe, like, creativity, for example, is one of the abilities that we need to rehearse more and get to know more about it. And do you guys want to give a perspective on any moves that you are making to actually counterpart this evolution that we're going through to the machinery of everything, and what we can do to prevent this? You want to start by actually you actually do tell what the machines are going to do.
From other programming bootcamps. So, I don't know if it has to do with me being a woman. It might, or with me being a mother. But I always really cared about emotions and about how people feel. And when I talk to people, let's say from other bootcamps or whatever, people, if they go into some hard subject that they want to learn, then people give up in the beginning because it's just hard, there is no emotional support, like there is no mentor to guide you, which is another thing that I would like to talk about, so please ask me about that later. human and the technological. I don't know how can you do that in AI. That's absolutely not my domain. I really don't know. I didn't even dare going in that direction. But from my domain, from my perspective, I would say that that's what we're trying to do in UMACAP. Develop a program where we teach people to communicate, especially as developers. But we teach people to communicate and to work together, not just to communicate with bosses but to work together as a team, how to form a highly performant team.
Give us the answer. Everybody wants to know.
Communication. I really think that it's I really believe that it's communication. I've been working remotely for 7 years now, and that wasn't my point of interest. I mean, I didn't read any books about it. It's only my conclusions, my personal conclusions from my personal experience. And again, I don't know if that has to be with me being a woman, and trying when you have a baby and you need to understand why is it crying for. You kind of become an empath automatically. So I think that if you have a colleague that makes some stupid mistake or that said something, even more when it's only on chat on Slack or something, and then suddenly they say something and you feel a little bit hurt, at that moment you need to stop, take a step back, and try to get in that person's head and see, okay, let's see, I'm upset right now, but let's see what is the other possibility, what made him or her do that or say that. Maybe they meant something else. Maybe it's absolutely not about me. Maybe they just had a really bad day, maybe they have a headache, maybe something. And when you start thinking like that, you think, okay, how does that person feel at the moment? What drove him or her to do that kind of action? You go to him and you ask, hey, what's wrong? And then first they feel, why is she asking that we are a good professional? Not time for us. But then after once or twice, 3 times you do that, and you start asking them about their family, which I think is really important to talk at work about our private lives. We shouldn't even have divisions between professional and private lives. That's my opinion. But when you start talking to people from your team and you become vulnerable, you talk about your own problems. Okay, I really failed at this. I don't know why. Maybe you can give me some advice. I think that the communication and the leads between the team become much stronger, much harder, and the team, if people understand each other, they become much more performant. That's my experience. So even if a team is building a robot, if they're not communicating as humans, even if they have like the best processes, smart contracts on Ethereum or on some blockchain, yeah, we can offload that to technology, but we still need to communicate as humans.
Yeah, I know. I would just try to make a point. Yeah, and yeah, we're gonna finish in probably like 15 minutes.
I have to really go. Sorry, can I just make a comment?
Of course.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so sorry guys, I really have to go. Communication key for sure. Regarding your question, I think that we have no fucking clue where artificial intelligence is going to go. Our minds cannot conceptualize where it's going to evolve, so we have no idea. Even the best experts, I think they are the worst. They have no idea what's going on, so that's good. The human body and the human mind is also going to evolve, but I think what's the most interesting is where the hybridization is going to happen. Where we and artificial intelligence, we and new technology, we and the change our DNA, whatever, that is where a lot of cool and dangerous, and I have no idea what's going to happen, and that is going to happen very fast. So, long story short, read the book. I just told you should really work on this. And if any of you have anything, just write to us in Biovilla, or you can find me in ResearchGate on Facebook. Thank you so much for the invitation. Sorry I have to run. I have a dinner, and I thought it would be done by now. It was great to meet you all. And cheers, everybody. Thanks for saying.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, I have to run.
I would just make like for these last 15 minutes, pretty much just getting to not try to ask questions, but getting to a conversation on, and especially of what you were saying, and it's funny because like if you watch a documentary called Eco Villas, and you can imagine how it is to have 10, 20, 50 people living together and don't have like the usual conflicts that you have when you have people together. That is like normal to have everywhere. And something that they really say is to have some principles that they always follow. Is the same thing that having a corporate culture. You have some stuff established, so everyone that goes inside, you already see what's the common values that they share, and not just bring their own personality too much into the culture, so they actually go along with what's already in there. And one of the things that one of the persons mentioned on some eco-villages is to do not take any assumptions, to work on communication, and specifically to not take things personally. Just go to the person and ask what's going on, because you don't know what was going on in that person's mind at that time, so you can't really make any point, because you're not into that person's body. You don't know what that person had been through or was thinking at that moment. So it's really much more of constructing that communication, and not just like establishing thoughts about that person or this person, or what that person thought about me or not.
And to complement that, and also when you have any kind of conflict or disagreement, I think that when you approach the person to talk, you approach with the vision that the conflict actually is a point of learning. So if I know that maybe I had made a mistake, I go to the person and I ask, okay, what's the problem? Is it something new, or is it something I did? And it's not a problem at all. Actually, it's so beautiful to admit that you are wrong. It's so liberating and amazing to say, oh my God, I'm so stupid, how did I do that? And to learn from that, I think that I've learned that when I made a mistake, and when I admit it with a group of people, yeah, that's what I did wrong, I won't do it again. I will try to do it again. But yes, every conflict is a point of learning. And there is something a very smart guy told me. I was because I try to. I'm just starting this. I'm not an entrepreneur. I haven't been a teacher so far. I'm just a programmer. Now I'm starting a program in school. I'm managing the business. I'm creating the course. I'm going to teach. So because that's not something I know, I'm trying to make a big network of very smart people that know about all those stuff, or not all those stuff, these three segments, right? So I talk to as many people as possible, and I ask them, my burning question. And I said once, okay, so the programs are going to be co-living programs, because I think we can learn so much when we live with someone and we see, okay, who's going to stand up first to go wash the dishes after dinner, right? You can learn a lot from that about the person. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to do as much as I can to try and prevent conflicts by, I don't know, with simple things like having a cleaner lady, having everything nice and organized for the people, not to have conflicts. And then the guy said, you know what? You're going to have like 15, 20 people together in the same house for 12 weeks. And you're worried that they're going to have conflicts. I said, yes, I'm very much worried about that. He said, no, you shouldn't be. A conflict is an opportunity for learning. If you want to teach people about communication, that's your fertile ground. You don't have to be worried about that. Just stress that at the first day when everybody comes in, just let them know, just make them remember that, and always keep repeating that one. So when there is a conflict, let's see what we can learn from that. So, yeah.
Exactly. And I have me personally, I'm a big fan of this, because I came here and people were talking like, oh, what are you doing? Well, what you gonna do? And I always say like, I'll just do whatever shows up, because you never learn by doing stuff that you know how to do, that you like, or that you're used to. You only learn from doing stuff that you don't know, you don't like, or you're not comfortable with. And this is the kind of stuff that I'm doing. and especially this. So this is mistakes. We make mistakes. We learn from that. But that's the thing. Just see what the mistakes you're doing, and just try to learn from it, and especially try to push yourself on doing it. This is something that I truly believe that is the key to some kind of evolution, just like you're doing. You're a developer, you're not a teacher, you're getting surrounded by people that know how to do it, and you're doing it. I'm not a moderator, I'm not a speaker, so I get surrounded by people that know how to do it better than me to teach me how to do, so I can see what I'm doing wrong and evolve from this.
I just wanted to add something because I remember with Elena what she was describing, and we've been realizing it a lot because a lot of our clients are from big companies and smaller companies, but whenever we give them the knowledge of the people that are interested in what they do and their concepts and their products, whatever it is, usually, and it's been quite a recognition, there's a need not only to go to the product in itself, like changing it or making it better or making that part of the path better. It's usually internally that they have to rethink all of the logic underneath it. And the first people to do it is the people that works there. And I remember doing it we do a lot of workshops within companies, which is mainly they have to do this. They have to do like, be a bit like the blockchain, like they are all allowed to speak, and they are all within a group, and they have their time to share, and people don't. So the starting point is usually making a stand, and this is like, I believe that as well, but mostly like in a domestic way, I think, because once you go to a different level, like of not recognizing the other person or not being within that community or that learning circle, you have to be the first person to allow to be afraid, to be wrong, to say shit. And that's the only possible way, at least under my view. And I remember I've been like with a 30 hairdressers workshop, discovering levels of I don't know what, it doesn't matter for this matter. And I remember I had my hair looking so bad, like I had white hair all over, like middle almost, and all like not even like properly done. And they were all around me. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna kill me. Like if I don't do something, and they're gonna be like nervous because I will discuss it, and it would be like an underground session. And like I put myself in the middle, like forget that this is my hair, forget that this is not properly done, and to share this and this with me. And it calmed everybody down. Like there was like I made the proper error. I exposed myself to error, to vulnerability, and it set the tone. Like, no worries, say whatever, it doesn't matter, because it actually is, it really doesn't matter, because everyone has a say on something. And it's really about not saying the right or the wrong, but at one point, it has to be, it's not like waiting, like what's happening, it's like do it through example, like really, like no worries, like put yourself on the floor and go with it, because it's probably with children it's easier, like to do it at the same level, but once you go to companies, it's not so easy to do, but you still have to do it, and you still have to empathize in a level that they know, and people know that we are all alike. We are all on the same page. There's no high and above. It's the same level, and that's amazing when you get it, because people are just Maria, Marta, Paulo, João. They are whatever they are. They are not the CEOs. They are not this, and they are not that. And that's
Yeah, and this is like the same thing with like feedback. It's one of the best things ever, and I really all the time I'm asking for people for feedback, and I'm giving feedback, but it's hard to get feedback. So I incorporated on how to actually retain feedback from people, because Well, as I said, you only learn when you do something wrong, and if someone tells you what is wrong, and especially how to do it better, that's how you evolve. And we are always like afraid of feedback, and people get mad at feedback. And it's pretty much more like a sense of, okay, I want to contribute to what you're doing. I want to point. I'm not just like pointing at you and saying you're wrong. I'm just making a point like to make you feel better, and you like to contribute to yourself, to make you learn something new, just give you my perspective, my point of view, because you're doing this with your own mindset, and I'm putting my mindset to test you, to see what you think about it, and to see how can you improve from it, or what you think of it. It's just like the cycle of carrying a conversation, like input, output, and feedback. Yeah.
Very
Let's
smart.
ask the question, you will not.
There is no question.
There's no question.
Just
A
make
very,
points.
a very smart friend of mine says, I always blame the process. I always blame the system. So when someone in a team makes a mistake, my friend believes that it wasn't that person's mistake usually. He blames the process. What led to that person making a mistake? And there is no ego. A member of the team made an error. It's not you made an error, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who made the error. If that person is open to learn. As long as they're open to learn and improve, it wasn't an ego or someone, okay, you made it there. We as a team failed at something, we learn with it, and we're not going to repeat it.
Well, I think we've discussed a lot. I got a very good lesson from today that a moderator shouldn't just ask questions, but just be part of the conversation. That shouldn't be one moderator, but just to carry a conversation. That's what I intended to do at the end. And I'd like to know if anyone has any questions about what we discussed, or about anyone's projects, or whatever we're doing, or if you want to know if that guy is single, or what the fuck is he talking in the headphones with the other guys, any kind of question. Anyone outside as well, people outside, we're gonna finish the beer right now if you don't make a question. Okay.
Did you guys leave a message for us for going home and think about it for the next 3 years, about the boards, about the everything you want, so you have to go home and think about it for our lives? A phrase or a message for
One for
us?
each one. You can start.
Stop doing what you need, do what you want.
Sorry,
Stop doing what you need to, but do what you want to do. And usually that pays out in the end. Not always, because you take a risk by doing that. But I mean, sometimes it works. And as you can see, we have like very different backgrounds here. Technically, I don't even have a degree. I studied nanotechnology engineering, but I dropped out because I was bored. I moved country from like as soon as I dropped out from school. Like 2 weeks later, I went to another country without a home, without a job. I got both in one day, and there I am. So it's just because, yeah, but that's also part of your mindset. But like for example, I'm typically like I have a problem with authority, so. I know I can't really work for a company, right? It's really tough. Right now, my company, so I'm the boss, but I'm the boss of nobody. I'm the managing director, but I'm not the manager. I'm like a leader. I think I'm a pretty good leader, actually, but I'm not managing anybody. So I'm just showing where I want to go. If it's in a wall, that's fine. Most of the people are like, yeah, sure, he's crazy enough, I'm gonna follow him. And that's fine. But that's what I like to do. So every day I wake up, even if it is fun. So, not Portuguese Robusta coffee, no. We like single origin Arabica, whatever. So yeah, like if you like coffee, or if tomorrow you're looking for a place to work from, you should come to our place because it's free tomorrow, and we have really, really good coffee. Really good. We are in Rua Latino Coelho. The place is called The Block, as in the blockchain. And yeah, so if tomorrow you don't want to enjoy the day off because you're like me and you enjoy working, you should pop by.
Good. Can I have your message from each one of us? Go ahead.
I was just wondering what we did have in common, and I think probably is this restlessness or ability to change. We were wondering, like, what I also changed. Actually, this year, I remember always living in the same house, but always wanting to move. So whenever I moved, I've been moving and moving and moving and moving and like making it up for the time I didn't. And moving countries and moving works and moving perspective. And I think that's really, really helpful because, and go again with programmers on each side, my God, I feel like I'm in a web summit. But again, even realizing what we don't know that we're going to hear is probably just be open enough to realize that it's happening and open enough to try to check it out and try to see the benefits and the wrongs and to use it and never lose your ability to learn from it in your own way or with the help of others. And I don't believe in giving feedback. It's actually not in our culture, but it may be with all this technology level and humanizing. It should be, but it's quite hard. It has to be practiced. Sorry?
The reviews?
Yeah. But, yes, and I remember I have one colleague started Anna at the office, and she's so good at it. And sometimes specific people are very good at it, but we have to be close to them to realize that and to learn with it. Like whenever doing that, try to do it this way. It would be much better. But because she's already doing it, and she's very attentive, like she can sharply realize. And if you're doing this, you're already. Can I help you? It's not like what are you doing? Do you need help? It's like I will do this, right? Like you have to guess, and it's quite funny. But again, I don't know. I don't drink coffee. Probably the only Portuguese person in the world. But I'm very curious to know your place, and I think it's really great. The path, at least to test it over, as long as you can be happy with it.
Great, thank you.
I'll give you feedback before I organize it too. If you need to do because I don't know, it's not negative, but like, okay, this will be improved. It's best if you first have given a lot of positive things, positive feedback to the person. So if I see my colleague doing something amazing, I always point out, great work, man, oh my God, this was really smart, I love your idea. And when I say 10, 15 times something good to them and they feel appreciated by me, and then I tell them something, okay, I think you didn't give your best here, they don't mind because they know that I appreciate them and they don't take it personally, they see it as something that can be improved. That's about giving feedback in my experience. And now to answer your question, something that maybe all of us could benefit thinking about is work and life and work. Why is that separate? Why is that still separate? Why do we like, okay, we go to the office, we become this person, and then at 5 o'clock we clock out and we this other person. Why is that still a thing? So, and what can we do to make it better? How can we have our work and our life intertwined, and how we can make, what can we do to make our passions our work?
That's the heart. The money is what you love to do, but you need the money for paying
It's
your
becoming much simpler. Yes, but luckily, yeah, you want the money, but when you say, okay, what I want to do, ask, okay, why I want to do this? Why do I want to do this? And if the only answer is money, it's probably the wrong answer.
We need the money for
Yeah.
paying our bills and
Yeah, but
You
when
can
it's
always adapt.
sufficient,
You can adapt.
Oh, we did.
You can earn
there are
to
many
find
ways.
something
€100
for
nonsense with
love
that.
it and
You can earn
You know,
50,000 per month.
Don't settle. Don't settle. I think that sometimes, we are just conditioned by the environment, think inside of this small circle, well, we Maybe you don't need a faster phone, of course. You just think completely out there. It is possible, you know, with the, I mean, one of the things, I'm not trying to, it's not a way for me to sell, to sell your course in but remote work has been amazing for me. I've worked at home, I had my kid at all the time. I didn't go out of the workforce, for example, and not just by being a developer, but there are many jobs nowadays that you can work remotely. Digital marketing, many jobs like blogging, advertising, e-commerce. Teaching is big. Creating courses, so many people, young people who make already six-figure salaries. So just be brave and try and actually ask for help. If you don't know, just go and find a person that knows and say, listen, I know there are paid coaches and all, maybe you don't have the money for that, but you don't need a paid coach always. Just go to someone, find someone on the internet, and just write them an email. Say, listen, I have this kind of life, I have this wish, I have this dream. Go to them with a dream that aligns with their, oh, that's something, oh my God, that's such a beautiful subject, we don't have time for it, maybe next time. But knowing how to ask for help. Ask for help. Ask for a mentor. What do you think I could do? And usually people love to help. People will love to give you advice if you know how to ask and if you come from an honest spot.
Thank you so much.
Great. And my final thought is actually pretty much related to this. And it's divided in two parts because it just gave me a very good insight. First, every day someone is becoming 18 and people are willing to learn. They're looking for knowledge from all kinds of knowledge because they want to learn something, because they think they need to get into a job and they need to find some way to do it. And each one of us has something that you are very good at or that you know a lot of just because you're interested about it. So you can always share this knowledge. You just have to find a way to do it. Even if it's an online course, or you just give a speech, or if you just like start a live streaming, you can just put this knowledge out because there will be someone that is interested in this knowledge. Just like she said that you look for someone to teach you. There's probably someone that knows a lot about something that you need to learn, but the person doesn't really put it out. So if each one of us put it out in this way, we can just make it like knowledge a very different thing that it is right now. And about my final thought is somehow related to this because you can always find the stuff that you want to do and that you like doing, because that's what I've been doing. And you only need to stop and just talk to a bunch of people that you know and just try to realize what are your passions, what you're good at, and then you just make a match on this, and then you start thinking like, what would be the best profession for me? It doesn't need to exist. You just think about it. When I came to Albufeira, I made a resume of a good person to deal with people. It was pretty much it. This is what was written in my resume. I'm good at dealing with people and receiving people and talking to them, understanding their needs, because this is related to my passion of sales and everything. And then I made a resume to fit into some kind of job posting. But then I came here, and then what I want to say is you can always think about this job that doesn't really exist, and then you can think, what company can I fit in? So maybe it's your dream company, and you can just come to them and say, this is what I want to do. You don't have this. I want to do it for free. And I will do it for free for I don't know how long, and you can pretty much see that I'm doing it because I'm here at Betaí doing the best job that I could ever imagine having in here, not getting paid and getting a lot of experience, and guess what? Now they want me to stay. And everyone can do this. You just need to find exactly what you want to do and how this can relate to some kind of job. And besides that, my main thought of my trip to finish this is mental resiliency. we don't need to get frustrated about everything that happens in our lives, and a lot of shit happens. It always happens, but so many good things happen from this. I remember in June when I was running to get the train to go to Alex Factory, and I missed it. And I was like, shit, I can't believe it's gonna take like 10 minutes to come another train. So I was there pissed that it was taking too long to get the train. And then I went to Alex Factory, and then I was walking there, and then Ana Carolina saw me, and this is why I'm here. So this is why. A lot of shit happens in our lives just to take you to the right path. All right, thank you very much, everyone. We'll have another half hour of beer. Thank you so much. This was so important to me. I hope it was somehow good for you. And see you around. Thank you all.